happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect One Word Conversations. Now, as I am learning to not just mention the sponsor of this show, but to actually give them time and give you an opportunity to visit IamWilliamBrown.com, because IamWilliamBrown.com has a number of items that will help you learn a little bit about yourself. Everything from a journal to the U cards to the two books on Beyond the Shell. So, I am William Brown. Get your items for you to have a deeper understanding of yourself. So I got that out of the way. I don't know why that is so difficult for me to sell. It's like I really feel that I am William Brown, and that's a part of my offering. But sometimes it just feels that selling part, that opportunity, that invitation for you to come along with me within this conversation and have this conversation beyond me with my items and the products that I sell and the services that I sell. It sometimes gets very squishy for me, but I'm working through that. So I am excited about the word that we have for today, and because the word is truth. And it'll come up more within the conversation because I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. But there is a lot that I think about this. And so, because it comes up, and I think it comes up in our society, our culture, in a number of ways. And in some ways, I think it's not helping, but that will come out in a conversation. So, as I do, I invite my friends or my new friend. This is a new friend. You know how sometimes Facebook tells us that, hey, you know this person and you would love to know this person too. Well, Facebook didn't tell me. A dear friend said that this is an incredible person that I would love for you to meet, and maybe they would come on the show, and she was right. So I would like to bring up my new friend now. Good morning.
Good morning, William Brown. How are you?
Now, this is the time that I am doing great. This is the time that I ask my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
So I'm Vireo, and sounds like Cheerio, but with V like vulva. And I say that because I don't know, it just kind of breaks up the ice right away. I'm very
The,
blessed
the ice is
to.
broken, right?
Yeah, so I'm very blessed to work with women, and in particular women who are struggling with disconnect from their vulva, from their body. Um, and that's definitely something that I struggled with probably for 5 decades of my life. So I'm really dedicated to helping women find the truth about their bodies because it was like I didn't know a lot of things about my body till I was in my 50s, which I am now in my 50s. And just really helping them kind of navigate their way home to themselves, to their body, so that they can be more on purpose and fulfilled and living a passionate life connected to Source, God, whatever we want to call this great mystery that has so many names. And that lights me up. It inspires me, and it terrifies me a lot as well. So
Right?
that's why I kind of break the ice right away, just so I can, get out of my small self and into my big self too. So it's like, is this what I signed up for, God? Okay. So yeah. Sometimes my little self would rather just crawl back into bed and sleep in on a Saturday morning. So that's a
Right.
little bit about what I do and why I'm here on this planet.
Well, I definitely appreciate that, and I totally get that. I have been, and I've said on a number of shows that I've been in this dance or this balancing act of, the smallness and the bigness of my life. And the more that I am, where I guess what's currently true to me is that the more that I am present, the more that I'll know when to show up, when I need to stay in bed, when I need to, be quiet, and when I need to speak up, and when I need to be big and step into the bigness of my life. And it all starts with being present. So I am so glad that you um, accepted the invite to come on and be here today. So the
My
question of the
pleasure.
day, or yeah, the question of the morning is, um, how does the word truth land for you?
Well, it's a big word, and it's like, is that a truth with a capital T or truth with a small t? Um, Definitely, if we would have had this conversation maybe last year instead of 2020, it might have been a different conversation.
Hmm.
I think that, wow, as we say this, a spider just landed. There's a truth about that right beside me. Um, yeah, truth. Well, there's spider is also a representation of the divine feminine truth, so that's really interesting. I'm like, woo, that was a bit of fear came up for a moment, even though I quite like spiders. It's like, yeah, I'd like to see you. Um, that's an example.
Wow.
There's context, right? It's so there's like
Hmm.
when you asked me about truth and I asked what's my truth, what's the truth, what's a truth, it's like I'm really navigating. It's been like waves of navigating truth. One moment I think I know truth, and then somebody posts something on Facebook or sends me an email, and then I question my truth and I doubt my truth and what is truth.
Right.
And then it was like from one extreme to the other, and then I listen to this person's truth and another person's truth, and they're like completely opposite of what's true on the planet right now.
Right.
And then I would go within and see if I could find some of my own truth and truth with God, with Source, whatever we want to call this great mystery. And then
Right.
sometimes I'd have to shut off all the technology so I could go to that place within and find truth. So I don't know
Right.
what truth is. It seems to me that there's truths that are eternal, and sometimes I know what those are and sometimes I don't. I think I'm coming to know smaller truths like, oh, the truth is I like being in nature.
Hmm.
The truth is I like having a real conversation with somebody. This is
Right.
this is better than texting. Because truth
Right.
doesn't come out in texting. And in person would be even better, but with quarantine, we're having less of those conversations and maybe more of this kind of conversation. So,
Right.
yeah, I've been navigating lots of truths and lies and where do I find truth?
Right. I totally get it, and the reason how I get it, and so I appreciate that, because there are, when I was using that language of truth and kind of really embracing or trying to embrace the my truth type of thing, it just wasn't working for me. So now I say, what's true to me, and so it's not my truth, because I believe my current what's currently true to me is that the concept of my truth causes more disconnection than connection, because the way I understand truth, it's either the truth or a lie. So if it's my truth, what anybody else says is a lie. And so it's like, if that's the truth, and now I no longer believe this, maybe that wasn't the truth. So it's like, crap. So there are things that are currently true to me, but I am on the journey of the truth. And so when I say my current lie is that within my understanding of what's true, I am going to speak. But I can speak to you, I can go on Facebook, I can watch the news, and then I can either gain more true, or something becomes more truer to me or closer to the truth, or I can just reject that. But it's not the truth. The truth for me stops me and kind of settles me someplace. And because I'm still living, there is still an understanding of the truth for me that I have to be open to and willing to embrace and kind of move towards. And so hopefully I wasn't speaking too much and that kind of makes sense. But that's where I am with truth and just kind of really talking through that and trying to see where I can have connection with people and also live in what's currently true to me or for me.
I like how you framed that, and I like the idea that if I contemplate, is this going to connect or disconnect me from myself and others? Because I definitely feel like the last few months, right, since COVID-19, that there has been a lot of people taking a very strong stand in their truth, right? And even people I don't know, people I know very dearly and love. And now that you're talking about this, it's like, yeah, I feel a disconnect. Like, oh, maybe I can't say what I believe now, right? Like, oh,
Right,
so we're opposite now, right? And it's like, I love, Brené Brown talks about how can we look for our connection? Like, what do we have in common? What do we agree on?
right,
Rather than our disconnect, right? So I think it's very much what you just said. It's like, how can
right,
we connect? Where do we connect? How can we connect? Where do we connect? What do we agree on? What can we talk about where it doesn't have to be truth or lie or your truth or my truth, but it can be like, well, I love how you frame that. I'm going to take that with me, that this is true for me today. And I'm exploring this. And I'd love to hear what's true for you. That feels
right,
less disconnecting and oppositional because I've definitely experienced, and I'm sure everybody has who's listening, that disconnect. And it's like, then fear comes up. And when we're in fear, when I'm in fear and when others in fear, and we're in this reptilian part of our brain, then we disconnect more because we can't actually access our compassion, our reason, our truth, our prefrontal cortex, right? Which is more
right,
disconnect. So it's like, how can I get here to this place of my own authenticity, my own being true to myself? How can I belong to myself
right,
while still making space for you to belong to yourself, where I don't sacrifice or, you know, connect while also disconnecting from myself? How can I be true to myself, belong to myself,
right,
while still creating space for connection with you and with others, right? Yeah, that's
right,
huge.
right. There's definitely a messiness of that only can be worked through conversations or within a relationship. And it's like too often there's so much of our communication that is mic drop, you know? You know, it's like I'm going to say what I'm going to say and conversation's over, right? You know? And it's like I said it and deal with it, right? You know? And we wonder why that we have so many estranged relationships. And you know, how I frame as a kid, I can remember just kind of, you know, I kind of go after words, and as you can tell, you know, because I have one word conversation, so you could tell that that's a part of, you know, that's a part of things. But I was always confused when I would hear estranged. You know, this person is estranged, this person is strange, and it's like, why isn't it just strange? Why isn't just you know just say strange, right? And where I have landed, or where I've been, and you know, because I'm in my 50s, is saying that the extra e is the emotions that's causing this relationship strange. You know, there
Ooh,
is so
yeah.
many emotions tied to this that is causing this strange. And it's like, so you know, I can look at relationships, I can look at things, and it's like, oh yeah, all right, I get it, it's a strange. You know, it's like, you know, and it's just really, and it's how you were speaking about your work and what you do for women, is we have, because of our society and because of what we have been conditioned to, become estranged to our bodies we are, we can't even connect with ourselves on a level that we can take care of ourselves and love ourselves. And so we have to get the emotions out of it. We have to get the judgments out. We have to get all those other things so we can deal with what is true and what is the truth about us in this body, that we have. And it's like sometimes our culture and our society says things and does things that is counter to that.
Yeah, and that's, I think, what really fuels me is because and it fuels me, and it also sometimes makes me want to run and hide in a hole somewhere too far away.
Got
It's
it.
kind of that both, right? Service, not service. Oh my God. But the estranged and the emotions, emotion, again, the E, is energy in motion. The problem is
Wow.
that usually we've stuffed it down so it gets stuck and stagnant. And in Chinese culture, in Taoist Tantra, which is my background, when the emotion is not energy in motion, it becomes stagnant chi. It can't move. We don't feel it to free it. We can't even talk about it. It's depressed, right?
Right.
Which is why we have, what is it, something like 1 in 4 people are depressed or on antidepressants. And what I find interesting is that this is just kind of coming to me, this beautiful conversation right now, is that the more we depress those emotions, we don't let the emotion be energy in motion and have conversations about it, talk about it, stop being estranged, right? That we
Right.
willing to be brave and have those conversations. The more we disconnect from our body, the more we judge other people who are maybe alive and in that connection, and the more it costs us, right? Because as I go to have these conversations about sex, that's the big one, right? Sex in our bodies, orgasm. I say those words. I've actually had people unfriend me and
Right.
disconnect from me, become estranged because I said the word orgasm on a live video or I posted on my Facebook page.
Great.
And there's a part of me that the small part would want to kind of react or feel judged and everything. And then the bigger part of me goes, oh my, wow, like I have compassion for them because they are so disconnected from their bodies that they don't even they're it brings up so much shame. Shame is the um, David Hawkins in Power versus Force says shame is the lowest vibration on the planet. And when we're in shame, and usually it's around our emotions and the estrangement from people, right? We
Right.
we just further disconnect, and the more we get stuck in shame, we actually, unless we connect with others and get some support, we can't move out of that shame. And so shame and Western culture and religion have made our bodies the enemy, or the feminine body in particular, the enemy, right? So there's so much complicated messiness. And sex is messy. I mean, birth is
Right.
messy. Let's think about that, right?
Right.
You talked about
Right.
conversations being messy. Well, of course they are. I mean, birth, we all came in. Birth is not very, it's really messy. Sex is messy.
Right.
So I want to have conversations with people that are messy. And
Right.
I'm wondering how that's more possible with people, right? Because so many people, it either becomes, like you said, truth or lie, my truth, your truth, and there's a disconnect. And now we're estranged. We have
Right.
emotions that are stuck.
Right. No, I so appreciate it. Even at 52, I'll be 53 next month. And still, there are moments where, I hear, I guess, sex words or sexual words. And this 13-year-old boy shows up and the giggles. And it's like, what the hell is that all? I'm like 53 years old. I have 4 kids. Why am I, what is happening right now? Right. It's like, it is those conversations that I haven't had, or those of the emotions around those conversations that sometimes get in the way of just me being free in the sexuality of my humanness, right? And it's just really funny to me, and not funny because then I go into judgment of it's like, geez, you're 52 years old and you're still giggling at boobs, right? It's like, or something that's like crazy, stuff like that. And it's just really, what, that's not the truth. you know, I can say that, oh, I'm very immature sexually. I can make that the truth. Or I can say there are some areas where that's true to me, but it's not the truth. The truth is I am the fullness. I have I am the fullness of my being, and that like love and the expression of love and sexuality is so much a part of me. And the more that I enter in those, sometimes messy conversations or messy activities, then I'm becoming more closer to myself. And so that's the truth sometimes that I don't step into or kind of be aware of.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think it's pretty true for myself. It's true for lots of us, right? I'm 58. I feel younger and look younger today than I did at 40.
Right.
And part of it is a big part of it is I know is because I am connected to my body now. I'm not disconnected. I am more true to listening to my body and honoring my body. I think a big part of it around the sex piece is that we have been told lies. We haven't been not only have we been told lies, but we've had truth withheld about sexuality in our bodies. And it's in particular in Western culture, right? If you look in Eastern cultures in India and China and Thailand and other countries in Asia, there's an honoring of the sacredness of the body. There's an honoring of sex as a pathway to God, to source. And we weren't told that, right? For me, that what was true growing up, and I grew up in a very kind of more hippie liberal family. So it was more like the culture, not necessarily at home, because I'm Finnish background, so Finnish we call it sauna, other people call it sauna, but lots of nudity and freedom to be naked and comfortable with our bodies, and
Right.
yet living in a Western culture that's very disconnected from our bodies, that actually put me as a young girl at risk a lot of times because then we were in situations where people didn't honor our Finnish sauna experience as sacred, and naked was not permission to be sexual. So there was a lot of messiness there and sexual abuse and
Right.
inappropriate stuff. And then trying to make sense of that in a culture that really gives a lot of judgment. And for women in particular, we have so much media that's telling us the truth, which is we're not good enough. Our bodies are too small, too big, too fat, too skinny. We need to lift up,
Right.
push this in. Women more than men are told, and it's the buy right. You got to go and do these things so that you will be more beautiful, good enough. Your body will be better. So we have it in it. It's in our face, these truths and lies that are out there. So no wonder we're messed up sexually, because
Right.
the things that help us maybe to drop more into finding our own truth, like what is my body like? What's true for me? How do I connect with this body as a sacred temple? That's what I
Right.
want to bring to women and then to their relationships, that it ripples out, right? Where can we find some truth in what's true for me? What's sacred with my body?
Right. Yeah. And I think there was a conversation that I had. I think it was Thursday or Friday. I don't know. It was basically the lie. It was it was a conversation. The word was lie, and there and I said a lie. If I say that something is a lie, there's a judgment associated to it. Because for me to say that that is a lie, I am making a judgment or an assumption that you know what's true or the truth, but you're choosing to say something other than that. And so if I basically, until I have a conversation with you, until I really relate to you, I really don't know if what you're speaking is the truth or a lie, because I don't know what you really know or don't know. I just know what you're saying or what you're doing. And I think, and sometimes my understanding of the truth or what's true to me will kind of put me at odds with other people. To It's like you were saying, with what you grew up in, the truth about the understanding and the truth that you had about your body and how you're showing up. outside of your family unit, it was like, yeah, that's wrong, right? Somebody lied to you about your body. That's not and it's just like, and you want to say to them, no, they lied to you, right? It's like, and so it's like, who are you going to believe? And until we really, get to a place where, you know what, this is what's true to me, and that's what's true to you, and we can relate to each other or not, but there is some compassion in my understanding or my appreciation. There was a question that I asked and that I've been asking, but I think I have the answer, but I'm still working on the answer. So it just came to mind, so I'll bring it up within this conversation. Is how do you communicate with people or a person who is not yet enlightened? And so I there was sometimes that it's like, okay, I know something you don't know, and then I'm trying to talk to them, and it's like you're talking to a brick wall, and then it's like, okay, I don't want to call him a dumbass right now, but I still want to be compassionate, but it's just like, this is hard, and it's just like, am I going to allow this person to stay in this, in my mind, this level of darkness or ignorance, or something, or I'm just going to wait for them to, turn their light switch on, or to have some understanding. And it's just really, when you have so much compassion for people, you still can't force anyone to to have an awareness, to have a deeper understanding of something.
That's a big question. Um, I don't know if I know the answer to it. I think that's something I'm obviously navigating. And there's kind of two elements to that. One is I realize I need to have that conversation in person. In person, at
Yes.
least I need to see the person and hear the person. And what I find uh, challenging is that with I have two I have two adult sons. One is 19 and Aiden is 19 and Lucas is 22, and they love to have these texting conversations, and that's not really a conversation. And I find that it more easily can go to disconnect because we're not necessarily understanding, or what I might say is maybe misunderstood. So there's that element. So for me, it's like, okay, I'm more likely to have a conversation where we can connect, where somebody's not enlightened in that moment, if it's actually face to face somehow. So that's one
Right.
big part. And we've got so much where people are communicating, or I don't even know if I can call it communicating. It's one level of communication. Maybe there's a judgment for me there too, right? Social media, which I rely on because I live in a cabin in the bush with no cell reception. So I
Right.
rely on social media. But when it's texting and things where we don't have the visual, we don't have the, I can't remember who said this, but lots of research has shown that, what did they say? Something as high as 70% of communication, of actually what's communicated energetically,
Right. Right.
is from
It's
our body
nonverbal, right? Yeah.
language, our sound of our voice, and the energy, right? It's not even from the words. So that's a big
Right.
piece. I think one other thing, just to add to what you were saying, William, is because one of the modalities that I work with is belief repatterning, and it's this is designed by Suze Casey, who's from Calgary, which is in Western Canada, Alberta. And what I've learned with how the brain works is when we're in what I call the reptilian mind, or when we're in emotions, those emotions that are draining, like fear, doubt, anger, frustration, sadness, grief, they're not bad emotions. But if we start to live there, we're in that reptilian mind and we can't access this part of our brain. So somebody might be actually quite enlightened. Like
Right.
I have moments where I'm like, oh my God, I'm an educated and enlightened woman with a master's, and yet in that moment I behaved really stupid, or I
Right.
behaved in a way that was not me, and it was like
Right.
I'm embarrassed or ashamed by how I behaved. But if I understand how the brain works, then I can have more compassion for myself, that when I'm in fear, especially, or shame, there's no way I'm going to be able to access this part of my brain for love, reason,
Right.
compassion, hope, faith. And so
Right.
if I'm with somebody, rather than assuming that they're stupid or judging them as unenlightened, if I can realize that they're probably here, especially if they feel a little threatened by this conversation I'm having, and sex is a messy, hot conversation, people feel inadequate, judged, all kinds of things. I don't even have to say anything. Apparently, I just show up sometimes, and that's already a trigger because they know that that's what I do, right?
Right.
So, in order to get here, it's like I need to find a way to help them come over to the they need to
Right.
find a place of connection so I can maybe drop any agenda I might have. And if I believe this is my truth, so what, let me reword that. I love what you said, so I'm going to take that back and retake that. um, what I know to be true in this moment is I am connected to everyone and everything. So
Hmm.
what I see in you is somehow a reflection of something in me. It's also in me. It's there. And if I believe that there's, because I do, my what I believe to be true is that there is this oneness. We're all from the same essence. So if I believe that to be true, then how can I connect with that part of this person that I'm
Hmm.
connecting with? And when I can
Right.
connect from that place of, because one of my core values is love and authenticity, then I want to access where is that, what piece in that connection can I love? How can I have compassion for this person? Where can I connect with them? So if I could keep looking for that thread of seeing the divine in them, that's I think what it is for me, is if I can look at that
Hmm.
person and see the divine in them, then I think energetically maybe they'll feel my heart open and I can start to ask them, like, tell me about that. What's true for you about that? I really do want to understand. If I'm seeking to understand, and it's rather than power over, which people can often feel, right? Is how can
Right.
I really do want to understand. Then hopefully I can help them get from fear or doubt or shame over here where they have some maybe hope rise up that, oh, okay, she really does want to get to know me.
Right. No, I totally get that. I mean, just helping people get out of that, I guess, the mindset or the way of fear or shame, because too often what I think is we try to shame people out of shame, right? We try to shame people out of fear. It's like, really? You know, you're just basically we're just, what's true to me is you're just putting them deeper in it. They become entrenched, because and it's like you can look at areas of race, you can look at areas of sex and gender. We try to shame people out of that space, and they're just hold tightly to it, and it's just like, just take the fear away. The more that we're able, and what I'm getting from this, and what's becoming true to me, is that the more that I create a space where fear can leave, where shame can leave, where judgment can leave. I say that I have a judgment free zone, right? And how it works for me is judgments can come, but they're free to go. And the more that I allow them to just go, not just get so upset because, oh, that's a judgment. Okay, it's a judgment. It doesn't have to stay. Oh, there's fear. It doesn't have to stay. And sometimes, I do this show, some of the early shows that I did was with fear, fear of looking good or not looking good and all those other things. But I chose to show up and push, go live and stay within these conversations. And I think I have, because of that commitment and staying in it, I'm able to have this conversation with you. And so it is those type of things that, until we allow fear and shame, this, I guess, movement, to move away and not become entrenched, then we can help people get access to possibility. So no, I definitely appreciate that and honor you bringing that into this conversation. And that's not for me. That hit a place where it's not just true to me. I think that's an element of the truth that I need to hold on to. And it's like the more that I embrace that as the truth, there's a lot of things will change and move, and stay in motion in my life.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, fear's a fear, that's that emotion again, right? Energy and motion when it's it's pretty crazy making. Um, there was one thing that just came to me as you were saying that. When we're in that fear and shame, all we have access to is what I call the four F's, right? Fight, flight, freeze, and F you. The one that we probably can't say live right now. Um, and so when I can notice that in myself, right? When I notice, oh, wow, I'm like fear. And I mean, fear has like a whole gamut, a range, right? There can be,
Right,
I had a little bit of fear coming up this morning, coming on the call live, right? But that was more
right,
excitement. That was like, okay, it kind of feels like fear, but it's more excitement. And then there's fear that's like genuine fear, right? Run from the tiger.
right,
So, but what
right,
happens is right now in particular, in our society, we have so much fear that's being generated by this conversation of truth and lies, right? So some of the
right,
fear is not even real. And then we get into this place where we're spiraling in that emotion and we can't access what's true for us or the truth, or we can't even contemplate the truth because we're in fear, right? So it's a bit of
right,
crazy making. Um, the other thing I just wanted to deepen with what you were saying, William, is what's really helped me to I guess be more in what's true for me and to stay in a place of love, which is another core value of mine, which I mentioned, is that if I can remember when somebody is pointing a finger at me with judgment, how many do they have pointing at themselves?
right, right,
And to remember, Don Miguel, his what is it? His second agreement says, "Don't take things personally," which is great in theory. It's a practice. I'm sure I'm still learning how to do that. And then remembering when I have a finger pointing at somebody else, there's also three pointing at me, and it's like, whoa, okay, what is it that I'm judging in them that is an opportunity for me to look at something in myself that maybe I
right,
have disowned or disconnected from, right? How can I connect with that part of me that maybe I disown? Because the reality is we all have the dark and light, the potential for everything within us, right? And then in each moment we
right,
have a choice to act on it or not act on it. So, yeah,
right.
I like to remember that finger pointing.
Right. It's it's a line from a movie, and a lot of people have said it that we can't handle the truth, right? You can't handle the truth, and I think a part of our society and our conditioning, we're not built to handle truth, right? We are almost conditioning ourselves not to handle truth, but we kind of create, quote unquote, with a small t, truths. So that's I can handle. But capital T truth, I can't handle that. So I have to create these small truths so I can do that. And I think my desire, my goal is to step into my life, into the sacredness of my life, so I can handle the truth and be with the truth, and be the truth, and however that shows up in my life and in my relationships. And so it's not mine. Truth is not mine, but it's something that's available to all of us, and for all of us. And so I don't know where I just went there, but but that's what just came, just came up for me within this. It's like, hey, you know, you know, the it's not mine. It's not something that I can possess. I just can be, because I am, a reflection, an essence of God, source, and everything. And so the more that I embrace that, there's truth that's available, and there for me. Yeah, we could talk about this for hours, but I think that there's a lot of things that are true for us that need our time and our attention. What if there's any last thing, or if there's any thing that you got from this conversation that you would like to share, or kind of as a wrap up, or kind of continue the conversation within?
Well, I really like what you said about talking more about what's true for me, right? To word it that way is going to, when I can look at what will increase connection with this person, with this other being. And I do definitely, my truth and the truth for me is that we are, that is a truth for me. The truth, sacred truth, is that their life is sacred, relationship is sacred, body is sacred, our divine within us is sacred. And I think sacred truth may be when I'm just in that place of silence, and um, when I know my connection with another, a lot of times there's more silence than truth, I think would be
Mm,
true.
right.
There's not a
Got
need
it.
to have words. Um, yeah, and I guess my yearning would be for, especially for women out there, if they are feeling disconnected from their own truth and from that sacred truth and from their bodies, I'd love to support them, um, and I know that what I've found to be true is that my liberation is your liberation, and your liberation is
Right.
my liberation. So
Got it.
as I serve, I'm really serving myself, right, and my ancestors and everyone, so that we can come home to our sacred place of remembering who we are. I think that would be, you know, truth, right? Is if we can remember that we're actually sacred beings on this planet.
Hmm. Wow. No, beautiful. I definitely appreciate you on a level that I'm trying to get words. And sometimes with for me, our language gets in the way of the expression of truth. you know, if that made sense. And it's just like, and like you were saying, the silence of it, the just being with it, is the power, is the real essence of it. And the more that we are able to embrace that and not try to give it words or language, then there's a knowing beyond, as in the scriptures say, Christian scriptures say, beyond my understanding, right? There is that truth. So, thank you very much. This has been a wonderful conversation, and I appreciate the friend connection, friend suggestion, and the taking on on this conversation. And so I look forward to speaking to you more in the future. So I'm going to put you back in the green room. If you can stay there for a moment, we can say our goodbyes
Thank
from
you
there.
so much.
Thank you, and we'll end the show, and I'll be back. Um, wow. Um, it's like sometimes with me, I you're up to something, and you feel like you're like surprise yourself. You know, I have those moments because when I'm following my curiosity, sometimes I think that it's going to take me somewhere, and it takes me something somewhere else. And in the conversation around truth, and how that word is showing up and not showing up in my life, is just being okay with just sitting in it and not speaking about it. It doesn't, and I don't own it. And the more that I embrace that, the more that I have access to it, and the more that it will show up in my life as it. So, yeah, I would love to hear how truth is showing up for you, and if you can mention it in the comments, or or find someone in your life and have a conversation about truth or what's currently true to them. The world wants you, the world needs you, and the world is waiting for you. So go be you. I am William Brown. Have a wonderful, blessed rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow